Rev up your engines!
Well, here's something to worry about if you got those key fob cars that don't have actual keys. Thieves are now using a key fob that you have to steal your car if you have push to start. It turns out, even if you're in an apartment or a motel and you got your key fob just sitting there, they have machines, and they're targeting a lot of brand new Hondas, that can pick up the signal of the key fob and steal your car. One man who had his car stolen says, "We had our keys on the other side of this wall in our apartment, far enough that the car won't even unlock. But the thieves must have magnified our key fob signal and unlocked and started the car." This was a group of thieves in the Gulf Mill area by Bridgeport. The police are giving steering wheel locks out to people to keep them from being stolen, because, of course, they can get into your car if they got the computer stuff, beep, 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 open it up, they can start it up. But if the steering wheel's got a lock on it, they're going to have to get rid of that, and then that's going to take a long time with a hacksaw or whatever to cut it off. They get pretty good steel on the good ones that most people are just going to walk away, and then they'll look for a car that doesn't have a lock on it, and they'll steal that one instead. And of course, the police are no fools. They're warning people to know where your key fob and put it in an anti-theft device. They're talking about a box that's lead lined or whatever, so like a Faraday box they're called. You put your keys in that if you got a key fob, and then they can't get the signals in and out. If they can't get the signal, then they can't steal your car. But unfortunately, it can be accessed if it's out in the open. And in this case, the guy was in his apartment, and he said if you push the button, it wouldn't even unlock his car on the other side out in the parking lot, but they were able to get the signals, steal his car. Because, believe it or not, the thieves, yes, can get you signals while your keys are in your house. They don't have to have their hands on them. You don't have to be using them. They can access it with the stuff that they have. So get yourself a Faraday box. Hide your stuff in. You can buy a Faraday box for $10 on Amazon and stick your keys in it. You know? I mean, I've tried them. I made a video on that. You can see it does work. I showed one, signals out, and then I put it in the box, and you can see nothing was doing anything. So they do work. But if you don't have one and your car's gone, you'll wish you had bought one. Well, if you notice, I've been telling people for years modern Jeeps are going down the toilet, their quality. Well, here is an email from one of you viewers who agrees with me. Kelly says, "The wife and I recently rented a vehicle for a trip to Florida. I got a Jeep Compass. Anyway, this new Jeep Compass had a windshield seal that wasn't seated in the window channel and an 8-inch section. The engine made terrible sounds when it was idling, like it had loose components. The transmission was slow to respond, which is good because it acted like it was slipping most of the time anyway." It only had 2 cup holders, and they're located under our elbows. After driving it 2 miles from the rental company, alarms started going off. One for headlight was disabled, and the other alarm for lane correction disabled. The lane correction did clear itself, but the auto headlight feature did not. It ran okay, but it worried me with the stumbling and bucking during stop-and-go traffic. Twice it almost died right in the middle of the intersection. I hope to never rent one of these ever again. The Jeep Compass is just cheaply made Jeeps. Fiat took over. Jeep started to go. Stellantis took over. They fell off into the ocean, going into the Mariana Trench with lack of quality now. So, I mean, if you don't believe what I have to say, do like this guy did. Rent one next time you go on vacation. Then you'll probably say, you know, Scotty was right about that. These things really are pretty crappy made. It's sad but true, you know, Jeep in name only these days. It's all style and no function. They only care about what it looks like. They don't care if it works or not. What the heck? It's only a car to get you from here to there. So what if it doesn't work very well? But it looks cool. It's a Jeep. We know how much making fun of the names of electric cars because they're so darn stupid. Well, Honda still doesn't know what they're going to name its EVs. I mean, let's face it. Volkswagen ID.Buzz and then these EV1 whatever. Can't they think of names? You know, use a little creativity, people. That's what the brain is for. Think of an interesting name. Give them a name. Stop giving them stupid numbers. Now, I agree with this one critic, and he says EV car companies are struggling to develop naming conventions that are sensible to consumers. Why don't they just give them names like everything else? I mean, why do they have to, they're focus groups, you know, these people. What they say about corporations, they're dead from the neck up. Well, that certainly seems to be the case here. I don't understand why they don't just like say, we have Civic and we have Civic EV. That makes sense, you know? You have Impala, you have Impala EV. That to me makes the most sense of all. You got got the name, and then it says EV, so you know what it is. But no, that'd be too simple for these knuckleheads. And of course, Honda doesn't make that many EVs. They were smart. They didn't waste all their money. Because the other companies, hey, it doesn't seem to make much sense for Mercedes. First they said EQs, and then, Mercedes EQ. And now they're saying maybe we should drop the whole EQ thing after all. And BMW has their I moniker, and Audi e-tron. It's all confusing, right? They should just give the same name and say EV. That would make the most sense, right? And now they can make up new names, whatever. Flora EV, Fauna EV, whatever they want. Just put EV so everybody knows it's an EV and give it whatever name you want. Boy, these people, they got nothing better to do with their time than scratch their head. What should we name it? What should we name it? How about a little creativity, people? I know it's not in your blood, but outsource it. Have some company do it for you. Lee McQuack said, I have an 8th generation Civic. Randomly, it won't turn over. He has to hold the ignition key on for a while and it finally starts. He took it to Crappy Tire. If you don't know what Crappy Tire is, that's what Canadians call Canadian Tire. It's a company, right? But they call it Crappy Tire because they don't like some of those parts that they sell, so they call it Crappy Tire. I knew that because I lived there for 3 years. They changed the clutch position sensor because it's a standard. It didn't help. What do you think it is? Okay, well, I know Honda's. It's probably just a starter going out. If you have to hold it, and wait, and then finally it goes. If it's the battery, holding it won't take any difference because the battery doesn't have enough power. What you can do is hold it sometime, and since you're in Canada, get a hockey stick and whack the starter a few times. If you whack it, and then all of a sudden it starts, that'll tell you the starter's starting to go out. But I know Honda's, and 9 times out of 10, or even 99 out of 100, it's the starter starting to go out. Hondas have somewhat weak starters. They wear out faster than other cars, and odds are that's your problem. Best laptop PS since a Scotty. What's the vehicle you've seen with the highest mileage with the original turbo? That's easy. A Mercedes 300 turbo diesel. Mercedes used to make great diesel engines. They started with a 300D, which was kind of radical. It was a 5-cylinder diesel engine before they had 4 6 aces, but they made a 5. They were dogs. They were too slow, so they turbocharged them. But Mercedes-Benz made those engines strong and a turbo strong. And I've seen a Mercedes 300 turbo diesel that had 500,000 miles. The engine and the turbo had never been touched, just regular oil changes. And realize diesels don't need oil changed as much because diesel fuel is kind of lubricant and it doesn't need to be changed as often. It can take the turbocharger because it's a diesel. They're built stronger. There's a lot more pressure. And back in the day, Mercedes-Benz made really good diesel engines. Well, if you were in the Chicago suburbs the other day, you saw the Oscar Mayer Wiener Mobile crash on its side. The hot dog is lying on its side. They're still driving that thing. Well, it's been modernized. I can see it has LED headlights on it. It crashed on I-294 outside of Chicago. The old Wiener Mobile landed on its side. It hit a car, and then the driver lost control, overcorrected, whoop, and over went the Wiener Mobile. I guess the Wiener Mobile is not too aerodynamic and doesn't corner all that well. Now, these things are 23 feet long. That's a long hot dog, right? But don't worry, there's actually 6 different Wiener Mobiles traveling across the country. So only one of them got knocked out of commission. They got to fix it. There's still 5 more. So the moral of this story is, if you see the Wiener Mobile going down the road, give it a wide berth. It doesn't handle all that well. And you don't want that wiener toppling on you while you're going down the highway, because there's still 5 of them going down the road. Well, if you're disgusted with all this high technology and vehicles these days, maybe you want to go to simplicity, like, let's go back to riding horses. Well, there's a guy who is crossing America on horseback now. He's almost crossed the entire country. A year ago, he started 7,200 miles back, and he's crossing the country. His name is Jake Harvath, and he wanted to prove what America's wild horses can do. So he got these 3 Mustangs. One he's riding, 2 are coming with him, and he's going across the country. He's probably leaving horse droppings everywhere, but I mean, they can use them for fertilizer like they used to. He said the horses are doing super great. They're his friends. The only problem he has is staying places. Most places, motels, they're not going to let you park your horse out front, right? So he talks to people in one area and says, do you know anybody 20, 30 miles down the road I could stay? Oh, yeah, you know, Billy Bob over there. And they go there and they meet and talk. You got to face it. He spent a year going 7,200 miles. He's got time on his hand. So maybe if you've got time in your hand, you might just get rid of your vehicles, get on a horse, and start riding. Bring back simpler times. Meet your neighbors. Make new friends riding on a horse. Didn't say what he did in the winter. I don't know if he went to the winter or he stopped somewhere because he's been doing it for a year for 7,200 miles. So interesting enough, 7,200 miles in a year, that's 19.72 miles. So he only has to go 20 miles a day riding around the horse. That sounds like fun to me. Maybe I'll stop everything, sell everything, get a horse. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.